Good afternoon. It's nice to have you join us on today's edition of Democracy and the Rule of Law. A program will take a look at topical national issues from the perspective of the rule of law and the Constitution. My name is Judith Renwa, and I am not alone on the show. We have our legal practitioners, Barrister Mike Umunan. It's nice to have you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, viewers.
Barrister Femi Aino is with us on the show today. It's nice to have you. It's been a while.
Yes, I know. It's nice to be back and nice to see you as well.
All right, thank you. And many Nigerians are still basking in the euphoria of the outcome of the U.S. election, where Democrat Joe Biden is now the president-elect, and we also have the first ever female vice president in that state.
Yes.
Barrister Mona, you've been following the happenings. What is your take on this? Did you see this coming? Many people were apprehensive. They never thought, those in Nigeria, those I've listened to, they never thought Biden had a winning chance against the incumbent president, Donald Trump.
Very well, very well. You see, so many people, because of what the way Trump carried himself, governed the people, the policies he brought out, and they were anxious to actually vote him out of office. And so, although there were so many people that were also bent on ensuring that the status quo was maintained, majority of the people that were colored, so to say, were anxious to get this man out of the office. And so I made some calls across to so many of my friends who are in US, and every one of them was speaking the same thing. We are getting this man out of office. But Joe Biden is going to be the next president. And so when the time came that it seemed as if there was going to be a shaking, some of them were afraid what is going to happen and all that, but we are so sure this man will go. And at the end of the day, so many people were happy, although from what Trump is saying that it's not yet over. But we believe that it is over, because you see, the US system does not work like Nigerian system. The Nigerian system, the president, ones who are elected, ones who are in office, who can say your word is law. But the US presidency is different. The process of changing government is different from what happens here. Things are put in place so that the moment your time is up, the people that are supposed to be the people protecting you will switch and then move over to protect the next person that is supposed to be there. And so you don't need to say, I am not going, because they will leave you and push you out.
It's about the system.
Automatically, by the system will send you out of the place. So it's not like here that somebody will say, I'm not going, I'm sitting here, like in Africa in particular. A president who had failed an election, who had been defeated, would sit down and say, I'm not going, I'm going to sit down here and ensure that, and he would destroy the system, destroy the people, and destroy himself at the end of the day, like what happened with Samuel Doe in Liberia. So US is different. So I appreciate, in fact, so many Nigerians are happy about what is going on.
And they wonder what is in it for Nigerians that we are so excited about it.
Yes.
Now, after 46 or 50 states, Joe Biden has 279 electoral votes already, and he only needs 270 to win this particular election. Barrister Femi Aino, it's when Trump is not, his body language is not signifying the fact that he's accepting defeat at this point. But like you said, the system has its own way of working. What are the lessons in it for Africa, Nigeria to be precise?
Well, there are lots. And the first thing I would like to mention is that I wasn't even feeling apprehensive. Rather, I was very optimistic, because optimism makes things happen. In the sense that you could see the handwriting on the wall. And if you cast your mind back, about 236 people lost their life in America during the corona. Then you have a president who did not even show appropriate empathy with those people. And at the same time, you will record the social unrest following George Floyd's death. And you have a president who seems to be showing some anti-immigrant feelings. You see, that can take you to power, because that was how he managed to win the election in the first instance, because he was saying, look, we don't want all these immigrants. But America is a land of immigrants. And at the end of the day, if care is not taken, the moment you carry on, people will tell you, look, we've had enough of this. We have lost our loved one. This is the time you are supposed to show appropriate leadership as the president of the country. At a point, there was an issue about chloroquine. At a point, there was an issue about the president himself using face covering, that, look, he didn't believe in this and that. And at a point, he was even locking horn with some of his advisors, you know, the medical doctor, that the man is talking all sort of nonsense and what have you. You see, those sort of things can radiate with some people. But there are some people who will look at it differently and say, look, it can't continue this way. And as to the issue, the lesson for us in Africa is this, that this is a testimony. There is nothing like a free and fair election, which we've been talking about. You will recall, if you cast your mind back, during the George Bush Jr. election, there was an issue about pregnant child or no pregnant child in California, whereby, because his brother was the governor of California, that went to the Supreme Court and they decided the other way. And now, even George Bush election, there was an issue about Russia interference. President Trump election, there was an issue about Russia interference. Now we have this election where President Trump himself is now complaining about fraud. But they will start the legal action tomorrow. And it will be very interesting, because the judges will ask a question. And that, if I'm one of the judges, the first question I will even ask is that, is the President Trump in good health? That's the starting point. Once they give me an affirmative answer that yes, then you can still wait the next 4 years. 2024, you can contest again. There's no problem about that. The second point is that one of the justices, we're going to ask them, look, what difference will it make? You are talking about uncounted votes, ballot rigging, and what have you. We all know that, but assuming we even add those figures, are you going to surpass Joe Biden? That is the $1 million question, which we need to answer.
It's 214 electoral college votes. Quite interesting. Now let's discuss, bring it home, discuss issues in Nigeria. And the first we're going to discuss is the meeting of the Northern governors on Monday, who met in Kaduna, and they rejected and condemned what they described as the subversive action of the EndSARS protest, and alleged that the superlative agitations and other change regime actions outside the ballot is to take advantage of the peaceful protest to push for their separative agenda. The governors, however, endorsed the indivisibility, indissolubility and oneness of the nation. This was contained in the communique read by their chairman and governor of Plateau State, Mr. Simon Lalong, after a high-powered meeting at the Sir Kashim Ibrahim House in Kaduna. The meeting was attended by many northern leaders, traditional leaders led by the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Saad Abubakar. We also have the deputy governors from many northern states, as well as the Inspector General of Police, the Senate President, amongst others. Let's quickly take a listen at the communique read by the Governor of Plateau State, and we'll return right back to the studio to discuss issues.
Peaceful protest push for their separative agenda. The meeting endorsed the indivisibility, indissolubility, and oneness of the nation. The meeting took note of the devastating effect of the uncontrolled social media in spreading fake news. Therefore, calls for major control mechanism and censorship of the social media's practice in Nigeria. Meeting raises attention on the need to keep strict watch on the Federal Capital Territory to guide against unwarranted and destructive protests to safeguard critical assets of the nation. Meeting commends the National Assembly and the Presidency in being proactive in addressing the issues of EndSARS protests across the country. Need to further push for amicable resolutions of ASUU strikes to enable students to resume their studies.
Now in our court as leaders from the North to ensure that we engage our youth for productive and positive developments. We should be looking for ways and means of empowering them, giving them the right environment to have jobs, to participate in entrepreneurial developments, something that will keep them busy and have hope and genuine aspirations realized and actualized. So we are going to continue with this kind of engagements and interactions. And of course, already some committees have been formed, particularly to engage with youth, and this will be very pretty soon.
A joint meeting of northern governors, northern traditional rulers, including the FCT, as well as senior members of the National Assembly from the North. And we met to discuss the various challenges we are facing, security challenges and other developmental challenges. And we're also very lucky to have the Inspector General of Police brief us on the EndSARS protests and the aftermath.
All right, we just listened to the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, Simon Lalong, the host governor of Kaduna, that's the governor of Kaduna State, El Rufai, the Senate president, amongst others, speaking there. But the concern many Nigerians have, we know the issues. The issues clamored for by these EndSARS protesters, which is end police brutality. It went beyond the disbandment, the solution of the SARS. Yeah, because according to many Nigerians, which is on record, that was not the first time these people were disbanded, but we still see them on the street. So it's the EndSARS protest was just an umbrella, you know, which had other issues under it: bad governance, impunity, police brutality, amongst others. But now let's look at, we know where it ended. Hoodlums hijacked this particular protest. It took a horrible turnout with the killings and all. And why many Nigerians are agitated, why this issue is on the table is the Northern governors, quote, they used this word, they dismissed the protest as subversive, divisive, and the work of those termed separatist. In the words of the communique as read by the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, I have the full communique. And many Nigerians are now wondering, why would you not distinguish between those advocating restructuring of an over-centralized federation and those described by separatists or secessionists, as the case may be, by this Northern governors? What do you make of this meeting, actually?
Very well, Judith. You see, when I heard about the meeting, I was actually waiting for the outcome to know exactly the aspect they discussed, and I was rather disappointed when I heard that they were talking about oneness, indissolubility, indivisibility of Nigeria as an entity and all manner of things. There's nobody who's saying that Nigeria should be divided. There's nobody who's saying that we should not be one and all that. All what we are talking about is good governance. And then what we are talking about, this issue of decentralization of the powers from the center, so that it will be that if you are at the state level, you will be able to manage your own resources, and then you pay a certain percentage to the federal government, and then you use your money that is derived from your own resources to develop your own area. And each state, which of course God has actually endowed every state with with resources in one way or the other to be able to manage. So each state will develop its own internal mechanism of managing its own resources and then developing at the pace, at its own pace. That is what people have been clamoring for. But when you now sit down, and because these NSAS protests, as Judith rightly said, NSAS, it was just an umbrella. An umbrella that had so many other legs that came out of it. And the major leg was not to disband SARS, it was good governance. Yeah. That was why when the police said we have disbanded them, we have banned them, we have done this and that, it will no longer surface, they said no. You have said it before. We want good governance. We want certain other things came out. Okay, yeah. And when the government realized that the NSAS protest was getting into a different dimension from what they were thinking, I don't know, these hoodlums surfaced from somewhere. Where did they come from? We have to ask questions. These hoodlums were not brought in by the protesters. Hoodlums just surfaced from somewhere. The first thing they did was in Abuja, they were pursuing the NSAS protesters and pursuing them and burning cars. And the next moment they came to Lagos and they started. So these hoodlums were not part of the NSAS protesters. They were sponsored people that now hijack the system. In fact, when they were sponsors to go and destabilize the protesters. But unfortunately, when you sponsor hoodlums who understand what happens now, it's just like hiring some people to protect you after training them how to shoot and all that, to send them away. What do you expect? They are going to shoot other places and then cause problem. So these people now use that opportunity to overdo the instructions they were given, and this was what brought us to where we are now. So the meeting of these northern governors should have looked for a way of concentrated on looking for ways of ensuring that there is good governance, instead of talking about issue of decentralization. We are not going, nobody is going to restructure and all that. Nobody is telling you to restructure. If you don't want to restructure, don't worry, stay on, because we know that no matter what happens, the system has a way of making sure that what it was happens. So nobody had ever thought that people would just come to the street and start protesting. They thought that Nigerians are very docile, they will sit at home, and Babangida once said that he knows Nigerians very well. You just give them this, they will relax and all that. It has gone beyond that. And that is why they are targeting the social media, because what you see is that the social media is a weapon, is a medium through which certain systems can be changed easily.
All right, Barrister Muna, I'll hold it there. Let Barrister Femi Aina come in. Part of the content of restructuring, when people talk about restructuring, what I read, what stakeholders come for, is, like you said, let states grow at their own pace. And also this issue of security, that you cannot police a sprawling nation like ours with a centralized police system. Yes. Now coming to what these governors are saying at a meeting which many have expressed so much disappointment. The Southern Forum too have said theirs. It has got so much reactions and counter-reactions. Yes. What do you make of this?
Yes, what I make of it is this. The problem I have is that it appears there are some people in this country, they don't even want one Nigeria. And those people, some of them are even governors, some of them are even in parliament. And it's very disturbing, especially when they come up with all these sort of semantics that they are dismissive elements, they are subversive elements, and what have you, without looking at the bigger picture of the problem. And this issue about restructuring is very disturbing, because even if we restructure, what sort of system of government do you really want? Number one, we have tried the parliamentary system under the Tafawa Balewa and what have you. What comes out of it? Then we change from that parliamentary system into a presidential system. and still we are still complaining. During the Jonathan era, there was a national conference. And the essence of that national conference is to deal with all sorts of agitation from different parts of the country. And now, the APC said, look, we are going to look at it. That was pre-election. And on getting to power, they put the report of the national conference aside. And now, we still have this agitation going on. And my own major concern is this. All natural resources belongs to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And by the time, and that's where I disagree with my elder brother in a way, that, okay, let each state keep their natural resources and develop at their own pace, according to your word. But will there be equality? That's the first question we need to ask. Because I'm from Ogun State. I'm worried. If we turn around and say that, look, we shouldn't take money from the national purse, keep whatever you get in your state. I wonder, what are we going to get? Where we don't, even at Tongoji Island, where they said, look, they've managed to discover petroleum or what have you, for years, almost 10 years down the line, nothing has happened up to today. Then you will have a situation whereby some states will be more buoyant than the other. And if care is not taken, there will be migration. Because if you know Bayelsa is doing well, I'm not going to stay in Ogun. I will probably move my family to
that is what we want. That is what we want.
Now, can you have one country by so doing? And I'm glad you said that. That's what everybody will have loved. But the question is, are you still going to talk about one country by so doing? Because what you will realize in the long run, you will realize some people in certain states who are living in abject poverty, while others, and at a point, the people in Bayelsa will probably say, we don't want anybody from any other states to come here. So there are a lot of myriad of problems. And my concern with this meeting by the northern governors is this. Let's forget all these sectional interests about this. Let's look at the bigger picture. And my brothers even touched on that. That look, Nigeria has a lot of problems. Some of them I can't even comprehend it. And even I'm glad this corona pandemic and what have you happened at a time when I wasn't in the country, I was abroad. And I learned a very good lesson. And the lesson is that it's good to have a government. A government that can stand up for you anytime there is a crisis. Look at what they did in United Kingdom. The government became employer of everybody, paying people wages right from March up till October. As of last week, they've now decided they are going to extend it till March because they want. Then now when the restriction was even lifted, the government now said, look, the hospitality industry has suffered because people, some of these people with restaurant that, look, go and eat. When you eat, we will pay part of the bill. And you can see people going into a restaurant and government paying part of the bill. You see, when you look at that, do you now ask yourself a question? That you have a country called Nigeria, who is the giant of Africa and what have you, they call it. They cannot even look after their citizens at a very crucial period, and everything turned into crisis one way or the other. It can't continue that way. So the best way forward, in order, before I give way, is that we need to have another roundtable discussion as to the way to go. If we are going to have a good government, a government that will stand for the people, a government that will meet the yearnings of the people. Because I cannot understand. Look at the students. They've been on strike for years, for months now, and just because the government and the academic staff, you know, they are still bickering about wages. Now, in the long run, all of us are going to suffer with this because, you know, by the time they graduate, some of them are as old as a Methuselah. And then, in which case, the necessary skill that will help the economy will not be there. So we still have a long way to go. I give way.
All right, let me just put in this. Many Nigerians are also concerned that this governor centered on this issue of NSAS. But in the offshoot of that project, like I said, is end bad governance in Nigeria. Which you said we have a myriad of challenges. Now, we've heard the police banning any protests under any guise in Lagos. But there are still people, whether we like it or not, there are still people, there are still youth who are still angry, who are not who are not happy about their state and the state of the nation. They want a change because they know, like you said, this coronavirus pandemic has shown that even those who want to travel at some point, who were shut out, were in the country and nowhere to go. And when you don't have anywhere to go, you have no choice but to develop home. Now, how do we reach out to these youths that something is being done? You said you listened to the youth by disbanding SARS, but these other issues that you're not talking about.
Yes.
How do we make sure that, fine, the protests are home now, they are not on the street protesting, but we have many angry people?
You see, what I discovered is that the government itself knows very well that the youth are still very much active in respect of this NSAS protests. And that is why they are sending out jingles all over. Parents should not allow their children to protest again, and all manner of things and all that. You see, it is not this fist iron-handed measure that will be able to bring down the temper of the youth. What the youth want is a situation that you put out a framework of how you are going to change things in the system. They say they don't want bad governance, a situation that you say you give out palliatives like they did, and then nobody from certain parts of the country can specifically say that I had collected this from the government. Nobody. And yet we heard so many billions of naira had been used to buy palliative, and some of the places that these youth went into to break into the warehouses, they went and discovered that these palliatives were actually stocked somewhere. This is part of the bad governance that we are talking about. So instead of looking for ways to address this bad governance, the governors themselves are now looking for ways to in fact, they are looking for ways to blame the youth, that they were the reason behind all what is going on.
When the fundamental issues are still there.
Yes, the issues are still pending. Nothing has been done about the issues. What they should do is to tackle the issues that the youth have come out with. Without that, this NSAS protest has just begun. And there's something that the government has refused to learn. The government has refused to learn from history. You don't know that. I think they should just appoint some people to read the history of revolution and tell them how the thing starts. You understand? Whether you like it or not. That's why I was telling my colleague. I said that restructuring. I said whether if you like you restructure, if you don't like you continue the way we are. Because definitely the system has a way of taking care of itself, whether it is in our time or when we are no more here. But the system will take care of itself. There's no way every state can be the same in a country. It's not possible. Every state must be, depending on the available resources in that state, must grow within that. Even as we are in Nigeria now, you cannot say that my state, which is Akwa Ibom State, is the same with Katsina State or Borno State or Sokoto State. It's not the same. You get to my state and you see, because of the resources they have been collecting based on what they are making out of the system, you see the glamour of certain structures and all that in place. Although people are still very hungry, there are still some hungry people. And then you get to some other states, you see rot and all that. You wonder, is this still part of the same? So if there is this restructuring, and then each state is allowed to develop at its own pace by, I did not say that all the resources should belong to the state. No, the federal government will have its own percentage. Each state will bring a certain percentage of what they are producing to the federal government. But they will develop at their own pace. The people there will be grassroots concern concerning the people that are there, so that anybody who wants to come to Akwa Ibom State and wants to leave Osun State, like we welcome the person, but you see, he's not going to enjoy the same benefit that he would enjoy in his state, in my state. And the same thing happens every other state that you go. But as a Nigerian, we want a situation that we have that unity, that symbol is there. They say Nigerian, you understand? But there should be no too much not too much interest, attachment to the center, so that if somebody from the center grows, the whole nation will collapse. You understand? That is what we don't want. We want a situation that the governors themselves will have the power to over the police, over the soldiers, army, and over every security situation in the state. So that if there is any breakdown of security apparatus, they are in charge. They call you see, this NSAS thing has actually exposed the structure of security in Nigeria to the entire world. Because how can you tell the governor will say, I don't have power over the army? The army now saying this, and the army will say, no, the governor or somebody from there called us to go and all that. These are situations that the governor cannot, if the powers are actually devolved to the state as we have advocated, the governor cannot say, no, I did not. You cannot shake that responsibility, because it is your duty to do that.
All right. Now, many are certain, the governors, I'm referring to the governor, northern governors. Now, many are certain that during the meeting that Nigeria is, they endorse the indissolubility, indivisibility, and oneness of the nation. Is that the way to go? Because many Nigerians are not averse to this issue of unity. They still want a united nation, but how do you build a united nation when people feel left out? They don't feel included in it.
No, there's a solution to that. Okay. Nigeria is an indivisible entity, and that's something all of us must be proud and glamour for. But how that is going to happen is this: there must be equal opportunity. That's the starting point. Equal opportunity for every citizen. There must be law and order. And then you must have a government that respects domestic law, international institutions. And at the same time, we must fight corruption. We must fight nepotism. We must fight ethnic sentiment. We must, at the same time, avoid dominance by one section of the society over others. And the other point, which is a sub-point to that main point, is that we must try as much as possible to let the past go. Whatever might have happened in the past, let's push it aside and give everybody opportunity. Because I must say this to you, because of what happened during the Civil War, there are still some section of the society who belong, these certain people must not be the president of this country because of what happened during the Civil War. Now, what is the essence of all the peace agreement? What is the essence of all the Aburi agreement? Why don't we just leave that? Let the people decide. Give everybody opportunity. And also this culture of nepotism, whereby once I'm there, my brother is from Akwa Ibom. Then the next thing he has to do is to make sure his deputy is from Akwa Ibom. The assistant deputy is from there. You see, you can't do that, despite the fact that you have people who are well qualified. If you get to some ministries at Abuja and you go through the staff strength, you will be shocked about the ethnic group of certain people at the top echelon. And for 5, 10, 20 years to come, these people will continue to be in the position at the top echelons of that organization. You can't do that. The moment you start doing that, it's an assault on the indivisibility of that country, because you are doing things along ethnic lines. Even though it may well be, we all agree, Nigeria is a pluralistic society, different religion, different people, about 250 ethnic groups. We know that. But because they are all Nigeria, all of them must be given an opportunity. We must not be casting aspersion. And this thing, I must be sincere to you, is very disturbing, because it's creeping to our way of life. If you ask somebody that, oh, who is this woman giving you problem? He will say, now one Yibo woman. If you ask somebody else, he will say, now one Yoruba woman. You see, because that ethnic sentiment is still there. And those are the things we need to try as much as possible to erase. And how do we erase that? Give everybody opportunity. And the youth restiveness, which we are talking about here, there are issues you can address. Number one, look at what is happening now. Private institutions are springing up here and there. because there's a problem with the public institutions. So unlimited strike, unnecessary agitation, sexual abuse of students, and what have you going on. That's why all these private institutions, that by the time you compare how much they charge with the per capita income of their parents, it is very disturbing. Once they pay school fees, there is nothing left for them just to have a decent meal. It cannot continue. If the public institutions are very good, then there won't be problem. And they said, you know, they will find work for an idle hand. If the youths are sitting at home for 8 months, 9 months, because of ASU strike, what's going to happen? When there is a protest, they will go on the street. And if care is not taken, if you fail in your duty as a government to create employment for people, once there is a protest next door, they will come out. When they start throwing stones, they will pick whatever is available in order to show their displeasure. So the government has a lot to do in this respect, and the only way they can address it is to make sure they carry the citizens along. Parliament too has a lot to do, because this idea of senators earning all this outrageous amount is very disturbing, and it's even affecting the integrity of the parliamentary system. Because you see, it's good for you as a senator to call the executive to come into account, because democratic scrutiny is an essential of the democratic process or processes. But by the time they get there, you will see some of the ministers, they are even accusing some of the senators of being an overnight contractors who did not execute. You see, by the time citizens start looking at that, once there is a protest, they will come out. And what is going to happen is destruction. I give it.
All right. Now, what he has given his own submission as the way forward. What then, in your opinion, should this northern governors, the leaders in the northern region, in the southern region, in every region, because the onus lies on all of us.
All of us.
We have youth in all these regions who have who want to be a part of this country, but they don't feel like a part of this country. He talked about the issue of ASU strike, unemployment, underemployment, and so many issues. What's their
if the governors want to meet, I will advise that they meet and discuss issues concerning Boko Haram, insurgency, insecurity, banditry. They should discuss issues of how to create employment for these youth that are sitting down at home not doing anything. They should discuss issues of how to ensure that these youth are returned to the campuses, are returned to schools, to be able to learn within the time they are supposed to and graduate and come out. They should discuss issues of how to bring good governance to the grassroots, so that the youth will be able to feel the government. They will be able to feel the impact of what they are they are seeing. Because so many of these states, you have few people with serious affluence, and then the youth are living in penury. You go to places and you see the level of poverty in the area, and then you now see one human being that is a senator or that is a House of Representatives, even House of Assembly, living in affluence, and you don't think that this is affecting the psychological aspect of these people, the youth themselves. So this is what the governors should be thinking about. When they meet, they should not be talking the issue of restructuring, indivisibility, indissolubility, oneness of Nigeria had been settled. We are not talking about that now. This government, APC, came into power dangling restructuring as one of their manifestos, and yet in the moment they came in, they push it aside. So if they don't want to restructure, let us not bother ourselves about that. Let us bother ourselves about how to ensure that everybody has the same access to government, to governance. Everybody has the same access to social amenities and all that. Hear what my colleague just said in UK, where he was locked down. He said that the government took over the employment of people. The people were not feeling it, as in Nigeria, where
the welfare of the people was the priority.
Was the priority, which is what governance should be. You understand? But Nigeria here, we only saw a minister who would stand up and say that we had distributed so amount of money to Nigerians. There is no Nigerian who will say that he has not seen, that he has not received money. How did you distribute? Bring out the names of those who collected. Those ones are not saying. So the youth, all what the youth are looking for now, good governance. Good governance. Do things to show that there is responsibility, there is accountability, there is that sense of belonging. Let them know that they are part of this system. And so they went. In fact, if there is no money in Nigeria, the youth will know. Because once you bring them in, they will be part of it, and they will know. They will not oppose you if you want to borrow. You want to go and obtain loan and all that. But if there is money and you keep them at bay, and then you are trying to go and borrow money from somewhere so that you will mortgage their future, there is no youth who would allow you to continue to do this. And this country has overborrowed money. In this particular regime has overborrowed money, and then you expect the youth to continue sitting down to watch these aged people that will soon go, and then leave all the load, all the burden on the heads of the youth. So the governor should look for ways of giving these youth good governance. Good governance, good governance. That is what the youth wants.
All right, you're watching Democracy and the Rule of Law, and we're still discussing trending issues in the country. We'll take a break, and when we return, we'll discuss the ban on protest placed in Lagos by the State Police Command. Many people are questioning the powers of the police to place such a ban on a constitutionally recognized tool, yes, in a democracy. So we'll be right back. Please stay with us.
There is a protocol that you have to follow, is it not? We have Force Order 237. What did it say? You can use your firearms when you are. You can use your firearms when you are in danger, and there's no any other way to. Therefore, no policeman should die while he's carrying his gun.
All right, welcome back, and just listen to the Inspector General of Police urging police officers to protect themselves, and he did say, and I quote, "No police officer should die when he has his firearms with him, and they have the right to protect themselves when they are in the face of threat and everything." I recall that some police officers were killed during the aftermath of the NSAS protests. Some police stations were razed, and he's been on tour of several states. That was in Imo State where he addressed police officers. What's your take on that, Barisamana?
Very well. You see, I don't know how the Inspector General of Police can come on air or in a gathering and tell the police that they should defend themselves in the face of any assault or any attack. This is very, very unnecessary. There is no doubt that the Constitution gives everybody the right to defend himself in the face of any attack and all that. But when you are saying that if you have your gun and there is an attack, there is nobody, there is no sane person that will go and attack somebody with a gun. So before you say that somebody with a gun should defend himself, you are actually telling them that if you see any situation that you don't like, just use your gun, which is very, very difficult. I mean, very terrible. It's very, very insensitive of what is going on in Nigeria now. A policeman definitely is a human being. He has his right to protection, to life, and all that as provided for by the Constitution. But in a situation that you are inciting, because that is an inciting statement by the IG, that any policeman that has a gun and he sees that somebody is going to attack should not die and all that. There's nobody who wants to kill the police. I keep saying it, that the youth are not out for the police at all. They are only reacting to situations that where the police or the soldiers will start shooting. Because there's no, when you have a crowd, there's a limit to which your gun can protect you. You start shooting at a point you no longer have bullets inside your gun, and then people will swarm on you. So it is not right. It is not right for the police. And in a democratic setup, you cannot say that people should use gun as a lie because they have the privilege of being in possession of the gun. No, you don't do that.
All right.
The policeman is expected to protect the citizens. And so there is no citizen the policeman will want to protect. Who want to go and attack the policeman.
Very well.
It's not right.
All right, I'll come to you, Barrister, but let me quickly throw this open. Our time is fast running out. The Lagos State Police Command on Thursday said it will resist any planned protest, procession, or gathering in Lagos State. The police said this amidst plans for the hashtag EndSARS protest allegedly to resume weeks after violence erupted in Lagos following the shooting of protesters by soldiers. Police said they would disallow the constitutionally allowed demonstrations because the state is yet to recover from the damage that followed the last protest.
You see, they are wrong. They are totally wrong. And you see, these things make you laugh. I wonder who are the lawyers advising the police. I think they have a legal department. And some of these people, I doubt whether they are giving the right advice. You see, the right to protest is a constitutional right. And you can't ban it. The only thing that is criminal is even if you look at what they are saying, I wish they can go and read the police law. What they are saying is even wrong. It's missing demonstration with protest. There is a difference between the two. Demonstration, if you want to go on a demonstration, you must notify the police and say, look, we are going to demonstrate on so date, and they will give you appropriate protection. Protest is a different thing, because protest is a way in which citizens show their displeasure with what is going on in their society or the way the government is running their affairs. And it comes within the ambit of the Constitution. And also, there is a limit. Under the law of protest, there is a limitation. And that limitation is that it must not turn to violence. You must not prevent others who are going about their lawful duties and what have you. So what the police are trying to say is very provocative. And this is the problem we have in this country. People just wake up and come up with what they call knee-jerk reaction. Anything little happen, it's not well thought out, then they just say, look, this is the way it is going to go. No, the moment you are doing that, you're going to cause all sorts of problems. The only thing they can do is this. Anytime there's a protest, you can impose condition. And that condition will probably be, look, you can protest, stay here, don't go beyond this. Look at what happened at Lekki Tollgate. Even if you approach the court needs to strike a balance between your right to protest and my right as a citizen to move freely within the country. Look at that toll gate. Assuming we have 12 entry points at Lekki toll gates for for vehicles to move. The protesters occupied Lekki toll gate. You can now impose condition that, look, we are happy for you to block 6 entry points where you will protest. Citizens who wants to go about their lawful duties will use the remaining 6. So you have a balance between the right of the protesters and the right of ordinary citizens. That's what you can do. And also, as a police, anytime, you see, because there are some protests which are not organized. You are talking about EndSARS protest. That was an organized protest. If a vehicle runs somebody over outside there now, there can be a spontaneous protest because people are agitated and said, oh, government should have constructed this road, this is what caused the accident. Now, in such situation, what do? You need to engage in what is called dispersal. And you will see it in so many countries that what the police will do, they use a loudspeaker and say, can you keep moving? Leave that place, this and that. And I've seen occasions whereby police even approach the court that, look, we recognize the right of these people to protest, But what they want to do is to occupy parliament, whereby legislators who are representing the people cannot even go in. And the court will say, look, this is the perimeter. You must stay here, you must not do this, and you must allow people to come in.
Right.
This is where I have a problem with all these attorney generals you have in some of the states. When these are protesters, at a point, attorney general can approach the court, and the court can say, look, there's a in the Busikano Park there. All of you can stay there and you can organize your protest. People will pass, they will hear you. But do not block people who wants to come to Alausa to process their pension, to pay their children's school fees. You understand? So we need to strike a balance between the two, and that's the way to go.
Well, quickly.
Yes, and you see, there are so many judicial authorities that state that the police or the citizens who want to protest, who want to demonstrate, do not need the police permit to do that. There are judicial authorities to that effect. And then, since it is a constitutionally guaranteed provision, right, you cannot by a fiat say that you cannot protest, you cannot demonstrate. You understand? It is only during emergency, a situation that there is a state of emergency pronounced properly through the normal procedure by the National Assembly and the presidency to be able to curtail somebody's right. That's when you suspend some provisions of the Constitution regarding human rights, and you can now say you cannot demonstrate. But as it is now, not the Inspector General of Police, not the President of this country, nobody can tell Nigerians that you should not protest. It is illegal, it is unconstitutional, and nobody has the right to tell Nigerians they should not.
We just hope those in authority are listening, because if you are very, very attentive around the Allen roundabout there, you see policemen strategically positioned in all this area. And when I was coming to work today, I was pretty scared, to have a heavy deployment of security in just around the state. Let's see how things go, and I hope Nigerians remain peaceful and just protect yourself, just obey the laws, and I don't know what else to say. I'm short of words. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the show today. It's always a pleasure to have you. And welcome back, Barrister Femi.
Yes, thank you. Nice to be here.
All right. My name is Judith Renwa. Democracy and the Rule of Law returns next Sunday at 1 p.m. Do stay safe. Coronavirus is real. Protect yourself and observe all the safety protocols. Good afternoon.